This is a seed. Seeds are really amazing things. With just some dirt and some water, these hard little specks turn into flowering plants that we get to enjoy. A few years ago, I grew this entire cutting garden from seeds, not to mention my main flower field. But seeds are tricky too. It's funny how something so tiny can give us such big problems. They seem harmless enough.
How dangerous could they be?
Well, here's how it went for me. When I decided to be a farmer florist, I thought, okay, well, what do I need to do? I need to grow a bunch of flowers. And so I guess I set off without much more of a plan than that. I started looking at seed catalogs. I was very familiar with a lot of the botanicals. I had worked with them in various places in the cut flower industry. And so I just started ordering seeds.
Then I ordered a few more. After all, they were cheap, and I was well rested and full of visions of great big bunches of flowers. It's too bad seed companies don't come with signs like this.
And then there was a seed sale, and so I ordered even more seeds. I wasn't really thinking about, the eventual bouquets that I needed to be holding in my hands by the time those seeds had grown up and turned into flowers. And before you know it, I had tons and tons of seeds. And I thought, okay, here we go.
And yes, I grew a whole field of flowers.
But then I ran into trouble, and that was when I needed to go out and harvest some flowers and assemble those flowers into bouquets. When I was ordering my seeds, I just ordered seeds because I was familiar with the names. I got some Molliucella. Yep, I know that one. Biplorum. Yep, I know that one. We need that. I just ordered like everything that I recognized. So I ended up with red flowers and orange flowers and yellow and green and blue and purple and so on. And it was really hard. There was way too much choice. It was overwhelming. And I had grown so much variety, but without really thinking about having all the ingredients to make a beautiful, cohesive bouquet. So the harvesting process was already slow. I was out there trying to make up recipes on the fly, but with tricky amounts of flowers, the wrong colors that just didn't really go together, and often not enough of a particular color or flower to be able to batch my work, to be able to upscale my work into any particular volume. So then when I got to the flower studio and I had orders to fill, I had to make basically individual bouquets. Every single bouquet that I was making was a new creative problem that I had to solve because I didn't really have enough to work with. And so each one was a totally different recipe. Each one was a completely different color palette. And that really, 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 really is slow work, but it's also exhausting work because of the amount of creative energy that takes. And it was really not where I wanted to be. I mean, I had little kids. I was working late. The family's wondering where I am. So I pretty much made no money that year because it became so labor intensive. Profits basically in the dirt, pun intended. So maybe this is a cautionary tale. This is the time of year we're all either buying seeds or planting our gardens. Here's a couple of things that I do differently now. One of the key things that I do differently is that I don't order variety packs of seeds. By that, I mean a seed packet where you get a premix of various colors of one type of flower. In the past, I might have wanted to order those because it can be kind of a handy way to get a nice variety of colors, especially if you're growing on a smaller scale. They tend to be an economical way to buy seeds. But what I have found is that they tend to waste space for me. There tend to be colors that I'm never going to use. And one of the most irritating things for me is how much they slow down the harvest process because I'm having to pick around or pick through to get the colors that I really need. And ultimately, after having put that first year into really focusing on growing flowers, it's so time consuming. I really just don't have the time to waste on things that are inefficient like that. So that's one that I basically don't do anymore, with a couple of exceptions. One exception would be if the colors in the mix are analogous to each other, so they can kind of work in the same palette and I don't actually have to unmix them.
Something that has really helped me is to think about what I need for my gardens. I should be able to walk out to my gardens and cut up to 3 or 4 bouquet palettes easily. Plus, there should be enough stems there to make multiple bouquets or buckets of each palette.
It's actually such a much simpler way of working. I tend to grow into just a few palettes. For the most part, I grow oranges, some reds, and purples and pinks. Of those 4 colors, I can actually get 8 or 9 different palettes. So my customers are still getting to experience quite a bit of variety in their bouquets from week to week. So thankfully, I have a lot of experience in putting market style bouquets together. And at least that's a part that I wasn't having to figure out. I wasn't having to start with no experience at all. And I just can't imagine doing that. I can't imagine how frustrating and disheartening that would be to start your first year as a farmer florist, working with colors that don't really want to go together to make a beautiful bouquet. Having to sort of learn how to work with color and come up with color palettes on top of trying to grow everything and grow enough of everything.
For most people, I think it's a bad idea to try to grow a rainbow of flowers. From a design standpoint, rainbow colored palettes are one of the more difficult palettes to do well. I use color theory, often just instinctively, but it's there. One type of palette that is easy and effective for me is the analogous palette. So if we look at a lot of my market bouquets, that is what we'll find. Something I like to do is pick a color like violet, for example. So on this color wheel, we've got purple or violet here, which is a secondary color, and it combines the primaries blue and red. Looking at this tells us that we can combine purple successfully with the 2 colors next to it, the violet red and the red. This would be a palette with a low contrast and a strong color theme, and this is the type of palette my customers really enjoy. Ordering seeds like this is a way that makes things a lot simpler for me.
Really, it's working backwards. It's taking the bouquet that I need to make and working backwards. What's in this bouquet and what do I need to grow to get there?
And I actually find that less is more, and I've never had regrets about chiseling out a crop or a color. Eventually, we must all find that balance between what is too much and not enough. Just approaching the seed shopping a bit more narrowly goes a long way. Making beautiful bouquets out of the garden can and should be easy and breezy, but it really helps if I take a little time at the start to save myself a headache at the end.
Well, there you have it. My life lessons in seeds.